We're back with Football and Focus, Shane's Rib Shack, going for a Thursday night, talking about a lot of football this week, a lot of activity going on this week. Got Spencer Turkin with us from 1320, the Triad Sports Network. He's in tonight, going to talk about a lot of things. In fact, we were talking before we even began our regular talking here on the program. And I thought I'd hit this on the top to get this real about the changes over at 1320 right now, the Triad Sports Network. Had a few questions about it at the website this week, got a few phone calls about that. And people, you know, change happens. People talk, ask questions. So we'll ask Spencer about that. Got some changes in that 3 to 6 time slot in the afternoon, some changes there. What's going on there this week?
Yeah, the station doesn't. But first off, Andy, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you.
Especially on this big Paige Grimsley week.
Yes, huge week. And I know that you and I share a deep, deep passion for high school athletics here in the Triad. And so it really is a great week to be on with you, and I appreciate you having me. As far as the lineup for the station that I work for, ESPN Radio here in town, Scott Hamilton, the columnist for the Winston-Salem Journal, has taken over the 3 to 6 time slot, replacing Prime Time with Chris Kroger, and it's just trying to bring a little local swing to the afternoons.
Yeah, when I first listened to it, I said, well, I'm like anybody else, when change happens, it takes you a while to kind of adjust and absorb the changes. The more I listen to it, I said, well, maybe you could do it like this. You get some Wake Forest guys in, some UNCG guys in, some Elon guys in, and you develop a good relationship with those programs and get the coaches, get some key players, and some things could spin maybe in a good direction on that. Plus, you could even, like probably Scott was maybe doing a couple days this week, branch out toward Duke and North Carolina, because he's going to have good, I think he's, like you said with Winston, we're going to have good connections with those beat writers and even with the coaches. I've interviewed the coaches before.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Take those coaches' interviews and put those on the radio and run it tight and break it loose.
Yeah, you know, Scott's going to have his idea of what he wants and how he wants to run it, and it's going to be one of those things that he's going to have to apply whatever he's done to get to this point in his newspaper career, and now put it on the radio and try and dip his feet into the water.
Will he keep his newspaper career going too?
He is. He will
good.
continue writing.
He's going to be a busy man, isn't he?
Yep.
He's going to be busy.
Yep, he is going to keep writing.
Did hear a couple of guys flipping through this week because we all flipped through all the radio channels in our car. We're driving different places. Heard Dan Collins. Good to hear his voice on there one day, maybe the day before yesterday or maybe yesterday sometime. But I also listened to that 1200 some yesterday too. I was over at Grimsley trying to catch up with the coaches to get their lineups for the game tomorrow night with Paige and Grimsley, and caught a little bit of the 1200 broadcast with the Texas Rangers trying to Blue Jays. And then I flipped towards your FM signal with 1200. Caught a little bit on there too. I thought, well, I've lost it because about 7 p.m. as you well know in the evenings, the 1200 starts to die out some in this area. But then I remember, well, I'll try that FM signal, and picked up enough there to keep the broadcast going, which I'm like anybody else. If I want to hear a game, I'll work my tail off to keep that game going.
And we will have FM signals that will cover the entire Triad. We are hoping by January 1 our FM transition will be complete. High Point, Winston, right now 104.9. You can go ahead and use that for that area. I believe it's 104.5 is the FM that's out based in Graham, and then there will be one here, at least one here in Greensboro, possibly up to 2. And unfortunately, I can't release a dial position yet. I do know it, but it's coming.
What about, you look at SGS, will they get an FM?
They do, and it's actually, so right now they're broadcasting technically on 101.3. That will not be the final resting place for FM WSJS. 101.5 is expected to be the final spot that will land on the dial.
And that'll get them pushing in the western direction,
correct,
right?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Right now, they're pushing west, but not very well because of Lale 101.1 is bumping up against it. But it's coming. The parts have been ordered and purchased and are being put together on the tower. So it's one of those things that is on its way. It's not one of those fantasies that it's like, oh yeah, we want it, it's going to happen. No, it's actually happening, and it's exciting to move over to FM and be on people's presets and to be available and to get clear sound on a Friday night for football.
Yeah, because I kind of hated it when we lost the, the people who listen quite a bit, lost the NC State broadcast to another FM in the Triad. And, you listen to something for a good while, and you kind of get that relationship as far as a listenership goes to a certain station. Come to expect it, and you look around and say, I just found the A&T broadcast for football this past Saturday. I just had to be flipping around, find it on 1510. I think this guy, Don Ronald Ware, who's a pretty good, well-known voice out of the Durham area, broadcast those games, took over after Spencer Gwynn had retired from the, I think it was 90.1, the A&T station, campus station, but now it's in the 1510. I thought, gosh, that's interesting too, but sometimes it's all by, I found the NC State the same way, happenstance. Flip around, find a few things to keep listening. When you got some, drive around the car, got some sitting time in the car, I don't listen as much inside the stations. Inside the car, though, moving around, especially weekends, all you're thinking about is ball games.
Yeah, and look, Andy, you know this just as well as I do, that the opportunity to listen to a ball game in its purest form on the radio with your guy calling the game.
Oh, yeah, your guy. Exactly.
It makes it special, and it makes it one of those things that you cherish. I mean, growing up, I grew up in New York, and I remember my dad, flipping on all the ball games and the hockey games in the car, and being able to listen to all of, whether it was John Sterling doing the Yankees, which it is what it is. He's the Yankees guy, and that's what I grew up with. Or Howie Rose calling Mets games. I mean, Howie's, and even the Ranger games, Howie called the 94 Stanley Cup run for the Rangers, and he had some of the best calls ever when he replaced Marv Albert, and that really was that's what I remember growing up was the guys that I listened to.
Speaking about the listenership, you guys have the 1320 going full steam ahead, and you got the big game tomorrow night. So let's kind of delve into that a little bit, the game tomorrow night, kind of the thoughts. I think the biggest thing right now, as we had talked about before we actually began the broadcast this evening, you and I were talking pre-broadcast, so to speak, about the crowd. That's what I saw. How big is that going to be, and how are they going to get all those people in there? It's going to be a tight fit, but I know Paige is excited. That's a great problem to have, to worry about trying to get all those people in there.
Let me put it this way, folks. Arrive early. Start the tailgate, have some fun, get the grills lit up. Just get there early. Be there, be on site, get your tickets. Don't wait to the last second. This is not going to be your typical high school football game. You are going to be smushed in, and you are going to be very good friends with the people next to you by the end of the night.
I see a lot of men, too, Ben, maybe more so than the women. Sometimes they like to go to games and just stand. So there'll be a lot of standing room, and they'll take full advantage of those spots, too.
Oh, yeah, and there's extra bleachers that have been brought in. I spoke to Rusty Lee, the athletic director over at Page, a few times this week and in the weeks prior as we were setting up all the logistics for the game. And there's going to be some special things on the docket that Rusty wanted to bust out just for this game, making it a really memorable occasion. And when you look at the way that the series is broken down over the years, Page 47-11-3, that's the record, in favor of the Pirates. And it looks like it's going to be number 48 for Page this year. They just have a dominant ball club. And so you can try and bust out some things and go over the top, because it's supposed to be a great night for your ball club and for your program and your community. And the bottom line is that when you're winning, things are always better.
And you think about that Page Ball Club, especially the way that offense is cranking out things this year. You think about those receivers. Those 4 receivers they've got are just a pleasure to watch. I mean, it's like watching a quarterback he can just pick out anybody as far as Will Jones goes. He's got such a great selection among those 4 guys out there getting the hands to the ball, and there's space. And against Southeast. Southeast is not a bad team. They got a pretty
Southeast
good defense.
Is a good team.
Pretty good defense, but gosh, I mean, Page just picked them apart.
Yeah, first off, Will Jones is by far one of the top quarterbacks in the state of North Carolina. If you take out the East Forsyth game, that was a rainy night, all different kinds of wacky circumstances. Will Jones's numbers are almost about 70% completion, maybe even a little more north of that for the season. So
He's thrown quite a few passes, too.
Yes, Will is a marksman, and he's taken visits all over the state so far. The scholarship offers are on the way. He's a very talented quarterback. He's also huge. He's 6'4", 195 pounds at least. So he's teetering on college NFL size already, and he's only a junior in high school. So that helps. It also helps when you have 4 guys who are over 6 foot tall catching the ball for you on the outside. And Ronald Polite, DeAndre Overton, Miles Faison, and James Ellis have all done a fantastic job this year. But I spoke about this with Kevin Gillespie earlier in the week. What's been the most impressive part to me is, A, how they don't infight. Receivers tend to get annoyed with each other when they're not getting the ball enough.
Those numbers, guys, track those numbers really close.
Now, Will does a good job of spreading the love around to all 4 guys, which helps. But the second part of the equation is these guys are competitive. competitive to the point where they're comparing each other's stalk blocks on the outside. When is the last time you ever heard a high school wide receiver brag about a stalk block that they had on the outside?
Tell you what, they do a good job to the outside man in the pattern, and the inside man clearing out. I mean, they clear out for that outside receiver and open space up for him so well. And a guy like Overton last week on defense picked the ball off on the first play, turns right around and scores a touchdown on the next pass play. Plus, you knock two defensive backs, and I usually don't kind of blast defenders when they are in a bad situation. It's tough luck, bad situation, tough luck. But he just blasted those two defensive backs and laid both of those guys out, laid them out, and drove into the end zone for the touchdown. Thinking, gosh, this guy did so much.
He's amazing, and he's a Shrine Bowl selection.
Yeah.
He just got the nod. Him and Harrison Kaiser, the kicker for Page. So congratulations to the two of them. Very well deserved, and two great kids.
Kaiser's got a great approach and a great foot and just everything. Doesn't punt that often because the offense is so good, but his kickoffs, I think last week, we were kind of tracking something. I think he was like maybe 7 out of 8 on touchback kicks to the end zone. And, I mean, he's another weapon because the opposing team doesn't have much of a chance to return kickoffs against this guy at all.
The opponent's average kickoff starting field position this season is the 24-yard line. So that's a lot of touchbacks in there. The other part of Harrison Kaiser's game, and Andy, I know that you guys had the off night on the night that we had the East Forsyth Page game because of the rain, so the schedule shifted a little bit.
Right.
And you tuned in for a little bit, which I appreciate.
Tuned in quite a bit, really. That was an interesting game to listen to.
Was the punt that he pinned
down in the corner.
East Forsyth down in the near corner. Right in front of the pylon.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one of those kicks where you could say, oh, well, it was luck that he landed it right there. Because he did it again. He did it twice in the same game. He pinned them inside the 10-yard line along the near sideline. And I talked to Harrison a bunch, and he doesn't want to punt in college. He wants to place kick.
Wants to specialize.
And I got to tell you, the more and more tape that's on him for punting, the less of a shot he's going to have of getting away with that.
Yeah, he might be better as a punter than or even as a kicker. You know, he's a great kicker right now. And I was watching some game on TV this past weekend. Some guy punted one of those and just got to about the 1 foot line, just broke to the left out of bounds. That's the kind of kick it sounded like he got that night too when he went down toward that corner.
Yeah, and it was special. I mean, we were up in the booth, and my partner's former NFL offensive lineman, Dr. Jeremy Phillips, and he even said it was one of the best punts that he's ever seen in his career. I mean, it was spectacular.
That says a lot, too.
Yes. I mean, he was a special teamer. Jeremy was a special teamer in the league.
On top of all those
so he was with the punters a whole lot. He said it was one of the best punts he's ever seen in his life, and that was great. But back to DeAndre Overton. The guy's got 4 interceptions already. He's got 7 touchdowns on offense. He's only played a year and a half of high school football.
Scratching the surface. Yeah.
This is a special young man, and it makes it better that he's so humble, and he's a pleasure to speak with, and those are things that you and I really take and appreciate. When the young men are willing to engage and to talk about what's going on, because it's special for us to cover guys like this. They really they make it a joy for you and I to do our job.
It's amazing, too, because you think about how the football schematics are changing now. You see so many of these high school basketball players are being kind of encouraged by their coaches. Why don't you try football and give it a shot? You're such a good athlete. David Amerson did it at Dudley, and Overton's doing it over here.
Trey Turner over at Northwest Guilford is another one of those guys.
I still can't believe it. But I didn't know about him playing football, and I heard about it, and I said, well, this went off my head. I was in McDonald's one Thursday night about 3 years ago, and PJ comes through town. I said, what are you doing in town? You're supposed to be out of school. He goes, watching my little brother's Pee Wee football. I said, okay. They kind of put the rest together, and he and the Cloud kid and Hennigan. I mean, Hennigan's a great guy to be leading those young receivers. You got a guy like that in front of you, you get better as a receiver.
Thomas Hennigan is one of the most talented young men in the Triad. He actually just won our Player of the Week award for his performance last week against Ragsdale. Almost 260 yards total on offense alone. He was spectacular. He's got an offer from Elon in his back pocket. Plenty more coming. I've spoken to coaches at Michigan State, Pitt, and West Virginia alone, and I know for a fact that they are on him. He is on the big board. So
if they were able to get, they could get John Lamont from Eastern Alamance
Yes.
and get Hennigan from Northwest Guilford. Elon might be able to start breaking loose down there. They could use that kind of help in a hurry.
we'll see what happens with Lamont. I've heard word that there might be some guys starting to come
yeah,
after him.
people are coming after him now, yeah.
ECU supposedly has been very on him lately. They see the next James Summers.
Prototype. Yeah, the same thing because we saw him in a game against Northern doing the same stuff that James does. And James, I watched James for a long time. No disrespect for James, but Lamont may be a little bit better passer in some ways than James was. Sometimes the run was always seemed to be James' better part of his game, better facet of his game. But gosh, that Lamont kid is tough. And they had talked about him playing linebacker at Elon. I said, what a waste of talent that would be.
Yeah, you know,
To
sometimes
me, it seems like the coaches know more than we do, but it seemed like to me, gosh, that guy's got so much athletic skill. You want him to just put him in there, we can help the team in a lot of different ways.
You know, sometimes the coaches do know more than us. At the same time, sometimes these coaches outcoach themselves.
They do. I mean,
and it happens all the
McNeil
time.
might tell you that because Ruffin McNeil has probably been a couple of times this year where he later scratched his head. I should have put James in there sooner than
How
last
about
week.
James?
And then last week, I guess it worked out because James got the start, I think, and he came out and Kemp came in and did better. But, I mean, again, for coaching staff, that's a great problem to have. I mean, work those two guys.
And how about James working his way back from community college and making it all the way back to where he wants to be in FBS top-notch football, the American Conference, ECU, playing in his home state. I mean, this is ECU is a place that Javon Lake, the Page running back, has an offer to. They're interested in Will Jones. There could be a little Page pipeline starting up.
Inroads, exactly. Good inroads. I think they played Florida a while back, and James came in that Florida game and didn't do too bad there either.
No, he did not.
Now
No, he
Florida's
did not.
looking at a different direction quarterback. But back to the Page Grimson again, historical standpoint seems to outweigh the game itself. But I know the players, I mean, just watching this Will Jones guy play, he's very competitive and very hard-nosed, wants to win. But, you know, you don't want to take that away from the players, the game itself. But the historical standpoint about being the first game at Page, that seems to be what's drawing the most attention this week.
It's very similar to the saying at some universities that halftime is game time, right? That sometimes the festivities around the game mean more than the game itself. And I don't want to take anything away from the ball game because, you know, you and I are going to call the game, and that's what we're really there for. But in this case, I think that the pageantry, the events leading up to it, the bonfire tonight,
Yeah, those bonfires every year, yeah.
and the game itself, and tomorrow the pep rally and everything, I think that means more to, especially to the Page crowd this year.
And you're able to get the student body and the fans and the families, get those people. Sometimes they kind of lay back, they're not as involved, the players are so hyped up, but now everybody involved in the whole program gets to be a part of the action.
Well, I mean, Page at 6-1, if you can't get psyched up about that, I don't know what's going to get you going. These guys are great.
Yeah, oh yeah, they've got that family support, got a good booster group backing them up, and also you get to get some of the other people who don't normally head out to a game. Everybody goes to this game anyway, and then other people hadn't been in several years will probably, especially the Page people. So Grimsby people might say, I may just wait till next year, but the Page people hadn't been in a long time.
No.
Who finally get to go home. It's good. They had homecoming last week. This will be more like homecoming for a lot of people tomorrow night than last week was.
Well, we were talking that homecoming really is going to become whatever team has this as the home game. That this is going to be homecoming. This is going to
City
be the big
homecoming.
event.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, this year alone, Page could bring in over $60,000 from tomorrow night. That's a lot of money between
a lot
concessions,
of,
T-shirt sales with the game comes home T-shirts
Right.
that have already sold out 3 times, the tickets, and that's even with having to bring the bleachers in, the extra security, and everything else that comes along with a game like this.
Major non-revenue sports too. Those guys
Oh,
get
yeah.
a lot more coverage. Going to help out everything in the program. And Rusty Lee, I know he's getting. He's been there a long time. I know he had to make sure he has been around long enough to experience this in his athletic career. Page and other places he's been. This has got to be a big point in his career too to pull something like this off.
It is, and it was the perfect storm when you really think about it. Kevin and Rusty really wanted this to happen. Miles Faison, one of the receivers for Page, his mom is the principal.
Right.
So that always helps when you have
That hurts.
when you have a rooting interest in the matter, and not to say that she would not have gone ahead and tried to get this done anyway. She wants what's best for her high school, obviously, but it puts a little added pressure on when your son comes home and says, "I want to play this game at home." There's no way around that.
And boy, he had a huge game the very first game of the
Davie
season.
County, yes.
That was just a huge game for him. He was scoring on defense and offense.
Scored a touchdown 3 different
every
ways.
way, all over the place, going crazy. And some huge yardage that game too.
It goes right back to what we said at the beginning about how all 4 receivers bring something to the table
Some kind of package.
every single night, and they don't they don't get upset when the ball is not coming towards them. They're okay if their teammate is taking care of business. The bottom line is for these guys, they want to win a state championship. And I saw a couple of projections this morning that there are so many 4AA Charlotte teams in playoff contention that Page might get bumped to the East.
Oh my gosh! How crazy!
Well, now that would be the number one if Page takes care of business against Dudley and wins out.
Right.
They would serve as the number one seed in the East. If that were to happen, all of those teams would have to make massive road trips from the coast to Greensboro, and the road would come through Greensboro, and then East Forsyth would be the number one seed in the West.
They could meet again.
So the Triad would be the focal point of the best classification in football in the state of North Carolina, which would be awesome.
That is interesting. I know the Wake Forest team moved up to number 1 in the state in the 4A poll, but it all goes back to, again, I'm not sure about Wake Forest if they're 4AA or 4A, but there are a lot of those 4AA teams in Charlotte, and the teams that are 4A teams in Charlotte are pretty good teams down that way too. They got some very good teams down there.
They're fantastic, but at the same time, they're beatable.
Oh yeah,
and we've seen that Mallard Creek fell,
loses and Butler loses.
Butler loses, and these are teams that Independence is not what they were. This is the time where if East Forsyth, in my opinion, had a better quarterback, and Page right now, if they're healthy, can make a legitimate run at trying to get to the state championship.
Who do you think is the second best team in the county? We're not sure who the best team is yet. Who's the second best team? That'll tell us who the best team might be.
In Guilford County?
Guilford County, yeah. We're talking Guilford County.
Oof. Now you're putting me on the spot. I'm going to say it's a toss-up between Page and Dudley.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
that's going to be an interesting toss-up,
October 30th, we will find out. I know I'll be there. I don't know if that's your plan as well.
But keep it in mind.
But we will be there, and whoever wins that game obviously is going to be the number one team in the county. Whoever loses that one's going to be number 2. I think after that there's a significant downfall. I like Northwest Guilford.
Like Northwest is like 6-1, but they're still not carried into the same conversation with the Page and Dudleys. Northwest is not quite there yet.
They're not. Their quarterback situation is not helping them right now.
Is it more stable down than it was before last week? Did they stabilize it somewhat last week with going?
Somewhat with going with Caleb Hommel. I don't know if Caleb is the long-term answer. I think the long-term answer really is going to be putting Trey Turner back there.
That'd be interesting.
And letting Thomas Hennigan run a little more Wildcat. I think that's really going to be the long-term solution for Northwest Guilford, because there's so many different ways you can branch off of that. And Trey was telling me that he played quarterback growing up. So he's done this before. Now, you don't want to lose a 6'3" guy on the outside unless you have to, and it looks like right now they might have to if they want to do anything in the playoffs.
So it's becoming interesting how Trey has become such a focal point of that Northwest program, because he's in the basketball as a freshman, did very well last year. Now this football, having a huge football season as well.
He's a gifted athlete.
Last year, right? Had some injury problems.
He had some injury problems last year. Look, he's a very gifted athlete, and Cameron Cloud is another one of those guys who you look at him, and you say to yourself, this kid has a Virginia offer, and then you look at him on the field, and he does certain things that you're like, wow. I mean, he has a lot of athletic ability. He's going to grow as a football player. He's going to mature. He's going to get better. And maybe Virginia was right to give him that offer and to jump on him early.
And you think about a guy like Overton. It goes back to him. All these basketball players, now football players, these guys are just athletes. It's kind of like the Josh Norman guy from the Carolina Panthers. Those guys just go up and make plays. That's what Overton does. That's what Turner does. That's what Hennigan does. Right. That's what Jeremiah Brown does for Southwest. I had a chance to, I don't think as much this year. Hadn't heard his name as much in this season, but that's what these guys do.
They do, and if you look at all of them, the one thing that they share is instinct. They've got the nose to sniff out the football, and they all do it on a consistent basis. DeAndre, when I look at DeAndre, and this is similar to Lorenzo Featherston from a couple of years ago. Right. These are guys who are not really playing football yet. They're using their athletic ability to play the game, but they're not playing football.
Right.
And my perfect example of that, and I spoke to a couple of people about this, is DeAndre had the chance along the far sideline in the end zone to make a grab in the game against East Forsyth. That he was ruled out of bounds.
Late in the game?
Late in the game. It would have been
foot out?
Foot in or foot out. And you saw it on Twitter. There were people posting pictures of different shots and what was going on. And the thing that showed me that he's still trying to become a football player more than anything else is he made the catch, he looked down, it appeared he was in, and he fell down. There was no official near him. He didn't sell the touchdown. You've got to know that if it's close, that you got to get up and celebrate. You got to sell it. You got to use your football knowledge,
that acumen,
to know that if there's not an official within 15 yards of you, you better get up and sell that touchdown. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to give it to you because you're celebrating.
Yep. Act like you've been there before.
And that's the difference between him playing the game and
long enough to
pick up those things and to be a football player. He's still an athlete playing football, and that's not to take anything away from him because he's a special ball player.
It's an exciting thing, though, to see how he's playing now, what it might be in a few years.
Imagine what happens when he gets in a college weight room.
Really? Yeah, exactly. How much he'll grow and be stronger and faster, and all those good things that go along with that. And we talked about Dudley. We talked about Page. What about in Northwest? Mention them. Who else in that top 5? Who are the other 2 there in Guilford County?
Well, Northern Guilford, I really like Northern Guilford. Unfortunately for them, Tucker Horde went down, and Tucker, talk about another one of these great kids that you just really enjoy covering. So I'm not really sure where I put Northern right now. I think without Tucker and CJ, in my opinion, is not 100% healthy.
I hope he can turn it on here. I think it's getting close to C.J. Freeman time, the playoff run. They got to start the playoff run now. He's just got to start running like there is no tomorrow. WFMY2 had an interview another night, the day that Spurrier stepped down, about his future with South Carolina. I just always like watching C.J. because he's always composed, always got a good positive attitude, and I just always believe that kid, he can get the job done. Yeah,
and now High Point Central, here's an interesting team, but because they just moved Jeffrey Wall to quarterback.
Yeah, they did. They sure
and they
did,
are a completely different team. I spoke to Todd Willard over at East Forsyth, the head coach, and he said, I'll tell you, they're going to win some ball games now. They finally got their problems taken care of.
Yeah,
he's fantastic. But how about Andrews?
How
about that Andrews
How about those
squad?
runners? I mean, they got like 6 or 7 guys with like 500 yards in the season.
And so for the county, I think that Andrews has to be the number 3 team right now. Even though they lost to Southwest Guilford, Rodney McCoy always has 1 or 2 of those games that he just, some reason, somehow loses. No one knows why. No one knows how. I mean, Southwest lost to Reynolds.
Of all people, right.
So, and that's not to take anything away from the job that Pat Crowley has done because he's won 4 games this year.
If Southwest would have had Rainey maybe the entire year, we may be talking about a different Southwest Guilford team.
For sure. But Andrews has given up, I believe the stat was 25 points since that game. That's incredible. And there's no one who's beating them in 2A. There's no way.
They're a big team. They've got some big kids up front. That's what that offensive line is, opening those holes up for those backs.
The only time they're going to meet someone who can beat them is Shelby.
Yeah, going that way. Yeah.
That's going to be the only team that has a chance to beat them. Shelby is a fantastic team down there near Charlotte, and that, in my opinion, is going to be the shot to knock off Andrews. So I put them number 3. I'll probably put Northern at number 4. You never count out Riverboat Roscoe.
And Southern Guilford's not bad either.
Southern Guilford's not bad.
Like
I haven't had a chance.
I like that team this year. How many times maybe I've seen them once this year. But anyway, I like the team overall. The way they've done without Reggie Gillespie. This team is held together, and they lost Stoner, the quarterback. The kid Rayshawn Knight comes in, takes over. They got the Amon Harris kid. They were going for a while going with the other kid back there in the running back spot, the Thomas kid. But then they go with the Harris kid. He's now got close to 900 yards, having a great year.
Well, Daryl's a fantastic coach.
He is a good coach.
And
he sure is.
I think that people underestimated his coaching job the last couple of years when he had Reggie as his running back. But Daryl comes from a line of coaches.
He does.
He is very well connected around the country with college coaches. He is an amazing coach, and I don't think people talk enough about Daryl Brown as a head coach. He is just
the fun
amazing.
thing about him too. He's so young. This is such a young guy. This guy, the way he's so tightly connected to Southern Guilford, he may be there the rest of his life.
So young, quiet, very composed on the sideline. So you got Andrews in that number 3 spot. And then I really think that you've got a 3-way tie for 4, 5, 6. I think you can throw Southern in there. I think you can throw Northwest Guilford in there. And I think now High Point Central is trending up. I think you got to talk about them.
Going to be interesting what they do the next couple of weeks. And Ragsdale, they're here with us tonight too for a few minutes.
Yes.
We finished up. But Ragsdale made that quarterback change. How much better did that look? Because I'd heard you had the inside of that quarterback move. Joe Sierra was with us a few weeks back, said Spencer had told me they're going to make a quarterback move. And how well did the new move do for them?
Let me tell you something. Eric Williams is a special talent. 6'5", 215-pound junior. Tommy Norwood has the inside track.
215. That's another.
Tommy Norwood has the inside track on yet another quarterback prospect here in the Triad. I mean, you've got Dudley with Hendon Hooker, Will Jones with Page. Now Eric Williams at Ragsdale, all over 6 feet, 490 pounds. Those are all college-ready young men. So Eric has a cannon for an arm. I think he's going to have to get his timing back down and get a little mesh point with his receivers going. Once he has that set, I think he's going to be all right.
And let's get a few other questions. Spencer Turkin, Football and Focus for Thursday, the big game, Page and Grimsley tomorrow night. Got some other big games there too, but of all the teams you've seen this year, who has the best chance of lasting the longest in the playoffs? Does it again come down to Dudley and Page?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that it's really going to depend on the draw for both of these schools. But right now, those two, in my opinion, are the ones that will have the best opportunity to go ahead and make a run here deep into the triangle.
How about going back toward you a little bit as we wind it through here tonight, change direction for a Thursday Football and Focus. Spencer Turkin with us. How did you end up at SGS in 1320? SGS first because you were a newsman, kind of moved toward the sportsman, but how did you end up in the Triad?
Well, I took a job
at ISP?
At IMG.
Yes.
I started
now
with
IMG,
them.
Right.
I came down. I graduated from school at the University of Illinois, and was looking for a job in sports radio. And Andy, as you know, they're not very easy to come by. And IMG, I was very lucky to be offered a position with them to go ahead and studio host and produce Miami, Ohio broadcasts. So I was like one of those coaches coming up through the MAC, and I needed a little more part-time work on the side. And SJS had a newsman position available. Took the newsman job. Eventually worked myself up to the News at Noon host, and was hosting the hour-long news program in the middle of the day. And my favorite moment from that was being able to sit in Maya Angelou's house and interview her. I did a feature interview with Maya Angelou before she passed away, and that was really special. And then I took over as the sports director over there, and it's been a blast. I mean, I was lucky enough to go ahead down and cover Pinehurst, both U.S. Opens, and a lot of other fun events, and be a part of high school football. This has really been a treat, and the kids have made it special. And I thank my former partner, Ethan Albright, my current partner, Dr. Jeremy Phillips, my former sideline man, Jim Molinaro, all former NFL players who have been kind enough to be a part of Friday nights and make Friday nights special. And I think you share the same sentiment. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think that the kids and the community wanted to be a part of something like this. And we're lucky that we live in a region that cares so deeply about their high school athletics and wants to see all of their young men and women succeed on and off the field. And that makes it very rewarding for me to go out there and spend my Friday nights, as well as my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sundays working on this to make it so great.
What about the best game you've seen this year? Would it be the East Forsyth Page game?
East Forsyth Page, hands down. Second best game was the Reagan Page game. Yeah. We were lucky enough to be over there for that one, and it was talk about a change of the tide. Third quarter, we were pulling stuff from deep in our pockets, trying to keep the snooze fest from claiming our sideline man victim, and then all of a sudden Reagan turned up the gas, and we had ourselves a final play that was going into the end zone and almost a game-winning score.
56-50 about
56-50, and there were probably near 1,000 yards of offense in the game. It was insane.
It's amazing. What about the Carolina Panthers? Did they take over sole possession of the NFC South tonight, or are they going to be a half game back of the Falcons after tonight? Falcons and Saints tonight, what do you think?
I got the Falcons tonight. I really don't think New Orleans is very good. The Panthers, though, how about the job of Cam Newton so far this year? He's got nobody to work with except for Greg Olsen.
He's making those receivers look a lot better. He sure is.
He looks like Tom Brady making a bunch of no-name receivers put up some numbers.
Exactly.
But the meat of the schedule is coming up now. We're going to learn
the hard part on the way.
What this team is all about here in the next few weeks. The date that I have circled is the Packers game. If they can keep that game competitive with Green Bay, then I would buy this team. Yeah, this is a team that is worth investing in and say, you know what, these guys are are going to do something this year. That's going to be the barometer. You're going to know where this team stands after they play the Packers.
What about quickly? You've got North Carolina, you got Duke, you got Wake Forest, you got State, you've also got East Carolina. Those top tier teams in the state. Who's the best among them?
I got UNC. Okay. Marquise has been fantastic. Elijah Hood is something really special. I remember watching him at Charlotte Catholic and getting to call a few of his games, and what a treat that was back then. And now he's squatting 645 pounds, and
dangerous.
I mean, he is a freak of nature. And you look at what he can do on the field. I think that Seth Luttrell, I hope he's listening, doesn't give him the ball enough. Feed the stud, give him the ball. TJ Logan has done what he needs to do. Austin Prohl is starting to get involved a little bit now. Gene Chizik has been a very welcome addition to this program. I don't see him lasting very long in Carolina because he's going to end up getting a head coaching job next year.
Right?
But the tides have changed, and you look at the schedule, and yeah, Miami might pose a problem for them, but really, not too many roadblocks ahead for the Tar Heels. They could make a nice little run here towards the end of the season.
Final thought for you tonight. Final thought for Spencer Turkin, 1320, and the Triad Sports Network. If you could turn back time, do you do anything any different or do it the same exact way?
No regrets. I've been
straight through.
I've been very
lucky. Any big events you go back and redo just for the enjoyment of it?
Oh, shoot. I mean, I've been lucky enough to attend 5 World Series, 2 Super Bowls, 2 Stanley Cups, an NBA Finals, a U.S. Open Championship.
So you would do nothing different.
If I could relive all those again just for enjoyment, I'd go back. Other than that, I've been very lucky in my life. I picked a great university to attend, and I enjoyed every second of my time in Champaign.
You just want to do more now, right?
I just want to keep doing more. Keep doing more. Keep being a part of it. Keep being a part of the community. And really, I've been very lucky that this is where I ended up out of school. The big man's always got a reason as to where you go and how things break down and shake out. And you know, I've been very lucky that when I got down here, you know, I do A&T basketball also for play-by-play, and that's been a real treat. And getting to learn the game of basketball, really, I mean, I went to a basketball school. University of Illinois is not a football school. Yeah, Red Grange played there and Dick Butkus, but it's not a football school. We're a basketball school. Except, you know, when we lose to Carolina in 04, 05. I keep getting reminded of that. Don't worry. I know these things. But I get to learn the game of basketball really in depth, X's and O's, from Cy Alexander, a guy who lives, breathes, eats basketball all day long, is a local legend here from his time over in Forsyth County and then over at Catawba, and then coming back here and being a coach. And he's on the NABC board. He's extremely well respected around the nation. I've just been so lucky, Andy, and I've met people like you and my fellow media colleagues in the area that have welcomed me and been really good to me. And it's just been, I could have ended up in the middle of North Dakota, and instead I got to start my career in a top 50 market and be a part of something special in a big market that's got a small feel and a community feel and a family feel, and it's just been a joy to really to live down here and to be a part of the community and to become part of the fiber, and I look forward to many, many more special events in the coming days.
Well, let's let you roll out tonight. I know you're
Andy,
busy.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Back again, maybe playoff time. We'll talk about that as well.
My pleasure.
Spencer Turkin with us, and up next from Shane's Rib Shack, we'll delve into the Ragsdale program. Going to go first with Mr. Boykin, Braxton